Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just a moment, sorry. As-salatu was-salamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyina Muhammadin wa alihi Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are doing well. Just now we are going to talk with Ahmad Phillips. He is a comic artist and also he is working on the Muslims comic series. So today we are going to so we are waiting for Ahmad Phillips, and inshallah I hope you enjoyed this program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Assalam wa barakatuh. Good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Hope you are doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
How is it going there?
Thank you for inviting me. Sorry?
How is it going?
It's okay. We're on lockdown. You know,
Oh,
can't really leave except to buy groceries.
I see.
So gives you a lot of time to, for digital people to do a lot of things. So there's benefit in it, alhamdulillah. And how about for you?
Also, we were in lockdown, but the lockdown is over. But because I'm working at home most of the time, it's not a change for me. And before this, it's about 60 days that we were in quarantine. We were in lockdown. But for now, because it's taking too much time, the government decided to let some low-risk businesses to go on because it's going to harm the economy. But alhamdulillah, at the same time, the statistic shows that the people who are dying, it's going to reduce in the recent days. So they decided to let the businesses to go back, but also, it's conditionally, if the healthcare decides, they can bring back the lockdown too. But hopefully, I guess it's in control. But people should, they should care about the social distance. They have to wash their hands and put masks to keep themselves safe. Inshallah. Is my voice clear?
Yeah, it's clear for me.
Oh, well, alhamdulillah.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, your voice is clear, and inshallah, let me. So, firstly, I want you to introduce yourself, your name and your location, and what's your background, your family culture, your job, and just talk about yourself. Yes, go on.
Okay, so my name is Ahmad Phillips. I'm located in Michigan, United States. My background, I graduated in animation.
I see.
4-year degree in animation. And my expertise now is mainly doing the comics and some video editing, and I haven't really been animating for a long time. So that's mainly my expertise. Alhamdulillah.
I see.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, before I guess I talked with you before, and you told me that you have another job. And is doing comics your your business, your full-time job, or you are doing it part-time?
No, it's just like hobby almost. It's part-time.
Oh, I see. And what's your main job?
Main job is just supervisor at
I see.
the dormitories, like helping with maintenance, things like that. So it's not related.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
To art at all. Alhamdulillah.
I see. And you are going very fast with the Muslim series. I saw some of your books, and also I read the first one about the test. It was interesting for me, and And how did you become a comic artist, and what motivates you, and what's your motivation, and what inspires you to go to work on comics and art?
Well, I always liked comics as a kid, and when I was in high school, that's actually what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a comic book artist. And then my mom suggested that I go into animation because
Nice.
you know, it's related, and you could say it's like the higher form of comics, perhaps. Anyway, so I went to animation.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't really planning to do comics again, but it's when I made the cartoon, the Muslims cartoon, the first episode. Afterwards, I wanted to continue making, you know, more episodes, but it takes so long to do it by
Mm.
yourself. You know, it took 7 months, you know, to do it by myself. So I thought, you know, making another episode is not realistic. So, but we made so many stories, we wanted to continue. So I decided to make it into a comic book instead. And that way I can work on the stories, develop them, and perhaps still in the future turn them into cartoons.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Yeah,
You know, I
inshallah.
know animation will take a lot of time, and you know, for animations, you know, it's better to be a teamwork, because doing it for one person, it's a very big and hard job.
Yeah.
So, and what's your goal in the Muslim series? You know, I saw your first story about the test. It was interesting. You are going to talk about Islamic values, or you know, you are going to for your age group, you are finding a way to do conversation with kids and children. And
Yeah.
yeah, go on.
Okay, so I mean that whole idea of the comics and the cartoon was just to make something that is entertaining first, because you know, I know there's a lot of books for children, Islamic books for children, and even there's Islamic cartoons. But in my opinion, to be honest, most of them are very boring, you know, and the kids
I see.
don't really want to read them or watch them. They're kind of running away from them, you know. They're forced to watch it, or they're forced to read it.
I
So we
agree.
wanted to make something that's, yeah, we want to make something that was entertaining, that they would want to read. Um, so that's the primary goal, making it entertaining. And then the secondary, entertaining while still, you know, conforming to
Mm.
Islamic values. And then the second goal is to teach a moral lesson. So we didn't want it to be like in your face, like preachy, you know, but
I
something
see.
that they could gain from the story. So alhamdulillah, we're still, you know, still working on that. It's harder than it seems to do. So
Mm.
we're still working on that, inshallah.
Actually, when I saw your first comic, I was excited about the face expressions. You know, the dad was
Yeah,
talking and giving advice to the kid, but at the same time, it was very exciting, the face expressions and how they acted. Because in comics, you know, you need to have something new in each scene. You know, you have to have an action. And
yeah,
I saw very many comics that you know, unfortunately, some Muslim comics, you know, they are using these comic scenes, but they don't have any new action in each scene. You know, most of the time they
yeah,
are just talking, but no face expression, no different perspectives. And the
yeah,
thing I was excited about, you know, you are using different perspectives, different scene, different face expressions, and that was very interesting for me. And another thing interesting about your work is that you know, you are growing each day. You know, I see that you are practicing at the same time, and it was very interesting. And
yeah.
before this talk, we were talking. You told me about halal business. You know, you are looking for halal business. I want to know what's your idea about this term halal business, and what do you mean about that?
Well, just that, I mean, in the art field, as you know, it's kind of dangerous, simply because, there's a hadith that one of the worst punishments will be for those that are trying to make, try to create life, basically. They're trying to make sculptures, or they're trying to make drawings, or, those kind of things. I think the musawwirun, the image
Mm.
makers. So, so a lot of Muslims stay away from arts just totally because of that, or they only stick to calligraphy or architecture, um, in which case there's no real issue. So going into making humans is kind of dangerous, unless
Mm.
you understand the, you could say I guess the fatwa for it, or the allowability to do it. And that is for, I mean, there's difference of opinion. Some people feel even for children
Yes.
it's not
Mm.
allowed. But from what I understand, the majority opinion, or the best opinion, is that if it's for children, so long as it's halal in of itself, meaning you're not teaching, how to steal or something, teaching to be mean to your parents or whatever, what you're teaching is good, then there's an allowance for children who are under the age of puberty. So for me in arts, that would be, the halal, would make it halal. In general, halal business, of course, we could go into, many things. Maybe in Iran, it's easier because, Muslim country, but
Mm.
in America, most of the jobs are, you know, I mean, there's haram aspects basically in almost every job.
Mm.
So to stay totally on the halal can be difficult. So like you might think, oh, you can be a grocery, work at the grocery store, right? But okay, but they're selling pork. So if you're the one
Mm.
scanning the pork and giving it to the customer, there's a problem. Or you're scanning the alcohol, or, so that's already a problem. So anything related to food, there's a possible problem. Or you're in a restaurant. Okay, you're cooking the food, no problem. But again, you're cooking pork,
Mm.
or you're cooking, you're adding alcohol to the food, or, whatever. So
Mm.
there's a lot of issues. Um,
I see.
yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yes, for
So
about
yeah,
the
having a halal
opinion.
business is
Yes,
important.
I see.
Yeah, go ahead.
I totally understand about the opinion about the hadith that you told me. I'm saying my opinion, almost not my opinion. Some the ulama or the scholars are talking about the hadith that they're giving fatwa about this hadith that maybe the hadith was for the time that people were worshipping some stones and things like that. So the Prophet wanted to forbid that to avoid people to go back to the Jahiliyyah or the ignorance time. So for our part, we ask the ulama or scholars who are, studying these hadiths, and so they told us it is allowed to work on these, pictures and drawings. And also, yes, I agree. It's forbidden to use these pictures, for example, in mosques and to decorate the mosque, inside the mosque. But it is allowed. This is the opinion of our scholars. And also about the halal. I know I'm saying this for our audience. In an Islamic country, it's easy, but I know, for example, if you are working an advertise company, maybe you are going to advertise for some, alcohol companies, something like that. I know it's hard, and mashallah, uh, you are doing well, and inshallah you will find the most halal business, and inshallah you will go forward. And
Yeah, inshallah.
uh, another question that I have, you are producing comics, and what's the feedbacks of the people who are using the comics, and how these feedbacks are going to inspire you to do your next comics?
Okay. So the feedback has been good from the kids mainly. You know, they
Mashallah.
seem to love it, especially the kids in my area. Because
Mashallah.
I sell it online, but I was also selling it in my local you know, Muslim community. So the feedback from them was amazing. They loved it, and actually they're the ones that encouraged me to
Mm.
continue
Yes.
because I did my first book, and it was called the graphic novel. It was 110 pages and it had 5 stories in it. And the last story ended on a cliffhanger, you know, like meaning it wasn't finished. It had a to be continued at
Mm.
the end. So
Yes.
they were just every day they saw me, they were just saying, when's the
Mashallah.
next
Yeah.
chapter coming? When's the next chapter coming? And so you know, it pushed me to
Mm.
do it faster just because they kept pushing,
Mashallah.
they kept asking, you know. Alhamdulillah. So, you know, it's a nice feeling knowing that you know, the kids like it and they're benefiting from it. So, you know, that's definitely a plus. The parents like it too, but I don't get the same feedback. Maybe because for them it's just a book. You know, they
Yeah.
get one book, they get another book. It's just a book. But for the kids, yeah, they really like it,
Mm.
and they're amazed that, oh, a Muslim, you did the drawings, wow.
Mm.
You know, so it's been good feedback. Online, same. The feedback's been pretty good, but more critical, which is good because it means I can improve it. So I got
Mm.
some, you know, in terms of the story and in terms of some interactions, I got some
Mm.
feedback, to, you know, on how to improve it. So that's, you know, of course, you need both. You need positive and negative feedback in order to
Mm.
improve. So yeah, alhamdulillah. So it's been good.
Mashallah. And I just wrote down the questions here. Uh, and when I see your profile, I saw that you are doing some practices and you are using some 3D softwares. And I just wanted to know how these 3D softwares are helping to improve comics and how are you going to use them in your comics?
Okay, so um, I think I'm pretty good at drawing like human figures, you know, and clothing and things like that. But when it comes to drawing like buildings or
Mm.
rooms, you know, it's not that I can't do it. It's just that it takes a really long time to do it well. And then, you know, for every panel, you know, to
I
do it
know.
again and again for every panel, it can really add up. So I thought I've been thinking for a long time to solve that somehow. So I was
Yeah,
thinking maybe using pictures and digitizing them,
interesting.
and I tried that out, but it didn't really work as well as I wanted. And then I thought about 3D, but at the time I wasn't really comfortable with 3D, so I thought, you know, maybe in the future. And then
Yes,
the
inshallah.
lockdown
Inshallah.
came, stuck inside, can't go to work. So, you know, I thought, okay, well, let me use this time to learn 3D, learn it again. Um, because I had actually taken some 3D in school, but that's been a while. That's been a long time. So I
Mm.
was learning the program, and I've implemented it already. I can't show you now because I still have not received the book, but inshallah, maybe in the future I can share with everybody.
Inshallah.
Um, but already I've done like a 3D room with, you know, the bed and the
Mm.
you know, cupboards and the bookshelves and whatever. And it just, and you can change the angle, you know, whenever you
Yeah.
like. You
Yes.
press a button, you know, shoots it out, and then maybe you do some adjustments in Photoshop. But it's, you know, it's a lot
Yes.
easier, a lot
Yes, I
faster.
know. It's a, you know,
So
it's very hard. You know, a comic artist is doing everything. It's like a film. It's like producing a film. You are doing
yeah,
everything. You are doing decoration. You are using architecture. You are using, you know, anatomy. Everything that you are, you know, you are doing what's about maybe 20 people or 40 people are doing it in a film, but you are doing it
yeah,
personally, and it's very hard. I know how it's hard, and you know, even I hear that I did a research about some, even some professional artists that did comics for maybe 30 years, they are also using some references. You know,
Yeah.
even they are using some references for human anatomy to find out the different angles, and I appreciate that. How are you going to use that? And it's very interesting, and inshallah we will see your next copies. And so let me, and what's your future goals about comics and your comic books?
So I'm a person who ideas are always coming in, you know, so I always write them down on my phone, or if I have a piece of paper, write down a piece of paper, or if I'm at my computer, I write them down in I have a, you know, the Google Drive. I have many, I don't know how many documents of just stories, you know, like 20, 30, you know, and just for the Muslims alone, we have like, I think it's like 70 pages of just story that, you know, most of we haven't done. Maybe we only did like 5 so far, 5 pages. So I'm always coming up with ideas. So really for the Muslims, right now I am just kind of fixing the brand, I want to say, because like you said, I was kind of doing it by myself, and one feedback I got was that the different covers weren't really matching, because I did it in one style, and then I thought, oh, there's a better way, so I came up with another style, and then I thought, oh, there's even a better way, I came up with another style, and I didn't update the previous books, you know, to match that cover style. So I'm going back and I'm updating and I'm fixing. And once I'm done with that, inshallah, just in a couple months, I'll be moving on and inshallah doing another series. I won't say what it is now, but anyways, it should be more exciting, because that's also another feedback that I got, that it's the Muslims is not that it's boring, but it's you know, of course, fantasy is more exciting, sci-fi is more exciting, you know, things like that are more exciting. And I want to keep everything halal, so it was kind of hard for me, you know. Obviously I can't have magic, they can't be, you know, doing magic, because, you know, that's obvious haram. And I don't know about fantasy, you know, like some fantasy maybe it's okay, because even in our tradition, Aisha radiallahu anha, she had a horse with wings, and, you know, the Prophet ﷺ rode on a flying horse, you know. So there's some, you could not, you wouldn't call that fantasy because it happens, but you know, you could say it's fantastical. So there's some, but I don't want to go too far, you know. So I have to come up with an interesting story, inshallah, that is exciting, but also that is keeping everything halal and making sure, you know, I'm safe, you know. So alhamdulillah, I came up with some, and inshallah, I'm excited to reveal it later. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Do you have shipping to Iran?
Sorry?
Do you have shipping to Iran? Your books?
So it's on Amazon. I don't know, you know, I don't know how that works. If Amazon ships to Iran, then inshallah, you know, you can get it in Iran. But if they don't, then they don't, unfortunately. So I can say how so when after I did the cartoon and I wanted to do a book, I looked into my options. So one option, and the traditional option, is just to basically pay a printer and they, you know, print out 100, 200, 1,000 books, right? And, you know, I didn't have the money, basically. I didn't have like $10,000 to just drop and get a
for how much
even,
copies? $10,000 for how much copies?
That's just a number I came up with now. I don't remember how much the exact cost was, but it was pretty significant. It was like 5,000. It was pretty significant cost. For, you know, different number of copies, and of course different printers. Actually, I looked recently at 2 different printers. One said I could print 250 for $2,000, and another one said I could print 250, but it's for like $6,000. So that's a big difference. But anyways, in any case, I didn't have the money. I didn't have $2,000. I didn't have $6,000. I didn't have the money just to print books.
Why don't you
And then just
print them
over
in China? Why don't you print them in China?
Yeah, maybe inshallah in the future. But at that time, I'm just talking about in the past. So in the past, I was looking at my options, and it didn't seem like I could afford to print anywhere. And then I discovered Amazon. At the time, they had a company called Create Space, and you could publish it through them, and they'll print it on demand, and it's completely free. So I said, that's amazing. How can I, say no to that? So I went with that option, the free option. So that's why everything is on Amazon, and wherever Amazon can ship it to, that is where what is available. So that's why for that. And it's easy for me. It means I don't have to put any money, and there's no risk. It's very easy, basically. That's why. Because if I have to do marketing, I have to do, the design, I have to do the books, I have to do, all of that. It's really time consuming and hard. And then on top of that, I have to also risk my money to print the books and then also ship it too. Then that's really
very interesting.
A lot. So Amazon was a nice option, alhamdulillah. But in the future, I would like to look at other options, of course, because Amazon takes a big cut as well from your royalties. So
yes,
that's, of course, not good.
So my questions are done, but for some of our audience, they are talking about, the hadith that you mentioned. Here I'm not going to talk about, different fatwas or hadiths. I just respect you because, in the Ummah, there is some diversity. Some people say that these are strong hadiths or not, but I respect you, and I'm not going to talk here. Here is not space for talking about these different issues, and inshallah, everything will go well. And so I'm done. I asked all of my questions, and so now I guess you are going to ask me questions, and I'm ready. Yes. Thank you for attending this, talk. I'm so happy that see you here. And okay, go on.
Yeah. So before I ask you the question, just in regards to the hadiths, like you, I'm not really going to go into it, and I do respect other people's understanding, and that is why, from my understanding and from the research I've done, and the scholars and the da'is that I've asked, I've arrived to my conclusion, and basically that's what I'm going with, because at the end of the day, Allah will question me, right? Allah won't question Mahdi about me. Allah will question me about me, right? So same for the other people. If you did your research and that's the conclusions you arrived to, alhamdulillah, we can agree to disagree, but Allah will question you and Allah will question me, not as a group. Yeah. Okay. So basically the same questions of your backgrounds. You're located in Iran. What city in Iran?
In Mashhad, in east of Iran.
East of Iran. Okay. And what's your background? What degree did you?
Yes, I have a degree in architecture. I have a bachelor in architecture, and also before that, when I was at school, I had this vision to, create picture books. Do you have my voice? Is it clear?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I had this vision to have, when I was at school, when I was a kid, I always did some drawings in school, and in my books, I had many different sketches. So after that, I thought that if I go to, architecture, if I study architecture, I can continue my art. I didn't have this idea and vision to go and study arts, study comics. But I thought that if I go to architecture is very close to art. But, after I was graduated and I went to, go to the building industry, I realized that, these buildings are not going to, give me some fulfillment about my arts. And, it's not art, and I can't create anything I want. I can't, do my imaginations and create fantasy arts. So I left my job and I thought that, I have to work on art. And for about 2 or 3 years, I was just working on art and practicing. And after that, I thought that if I start my business, I should start now. I was afraid that I wouldn't have any job. Then I started by creating very simple short comics. I created 3 comics, and after that I find things go well, and many people come at my Facebook account, and they ordered me some services, doing illustration, and that was when my job began, and I did it as my main job, and alhamdulillah it was well. And mostly I did services, but at the same time I had this vision that I have to create my own, not just services. And and after a while I didn't have time to create comics. Comics, you have to pay lots of time on comics, and that was making me crazy, and why I can't do anything. And that was the first stage that I created one-page posters, the Quranic infographics. And because if you want to create just one page, it doesn't take you time, and I did all of my creativity in that one page. And after a while I sold out the posters as a printable, and after a while I decided to create a book from all these posters. And alhamdulillah, the book is done and it's under printing now. When I wanted to print my book, the corona came, and the book takes me about it takes me about 2 years to complete this book, 2.5 years to complete this single book. And as you saw my works, they have lots of details, and also the book needed some lots of details, and all of these details needed some edits for doing the publishing. When you want to go to publish a book, you have to do the language correction, and you need to think about how these pages are going to create double spreads. About half of my book are double spreads, and the problem in double spread is these oh sorry,
the center.
Yes, I just have to fix my camera, sorry. Here, this is the problem. You have a line in between, and you have to edit all of the pages of your book, and so it takes me a long time. So, and when all of the hard work is finished, the corona came and it delayed my book about 2 months. And after that, alhamdulillah, now is printing and waiting for the binding process. I made a hard cover for the book, and alhamdulillah, it will go well, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So go on.
That's
yes.
good. Alhamdulillah. So from what I understand, you're a team, right? It's not just you. I know it's you designing mainly, but it's not you doing all the steps, right?
The team, as I mentioned, I firstly started my work as doing services. I got order for children book illustrations, and I did illustrated about 2 or 3 children books. And after that, I decided to, create a team, and, because doing children books was not my, my vision to do children book. I just wanted to do some complicated images, but, when you are working for children age group, you have to draw very simple. but I wanted to do very detailed illustrations, and that was not my image. So I found a team, many illustrators, and I talked to them to, I just outsourced my services to them. They do the services, and I do some marketing. Actually, my marketing system is not very complicated. I have 2 or 3 customers that, they are working with me about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. So I'm just working for them. But as I founded this team and I outsourced the services, I founded some space to work on my own visions. And my own vision was this Quranic infographic books, and the new book has another cover. I changed the cover. And Alhamdulillah, it helps me to work on this book. And for the future, I have a goal to create 2 or 3 more books. One is 40 hadiths of Prophet Muhammad, and one is another book is about the encyclopedia of art and science in the ancient Islamic world. I haven't found a title for it. It's a long title, I know.
Yeah.
So the team is working on children books. I'm not presenting all the children books in my Instagram page, but I have one place in the highlights, and you can see different children books there. Yeah. And they are different artists from different backgrounds. But the Quranic infographic books is totally done by me. I did it from the zero to 100%. All the research, I did all the drawings or the colorings. And actually, I'm still looking for some artists to do the coloring process, but it's a little expensive for me. It's hard for me. So I'm going to just do the coloring by myself. Yeah. And as you see, I just summarized. Yes.
What program do you use?
I use Photoshop. Mainly, I use Photoshop, and yes, just Photoshop. And also, I use a digital pen. Firstly, I draw the illustration in my sketchbook, and after that, I just take a picture and do the drawings in the computer in a Microsoft Surface. I use a digital pen, and then I will do it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe after the live, if you have a video of yourself, doing it, or you can explain it to me, and I might have some tips to make it a little faster, or maybe not. Maybe you have tips for me, because I have to do a lot of coloring too. But we can talk, inshallah, about more technical.
Yeah. Actually, I love to do to create concepts and do sketches, but I don't like to finalize it.
Yeah.
I have many ideas, but drawing all the lines and making everything finalized, it's a very hard process for me. It's not taking too much time, but I do some 2 or 3 lines, and then I go asleep, and I wake up, but then I do 2 or 3 lines. Oh, again, this hard process. But when I'm doing sketching, maybe I wake up for 1 day to do the sketching process, because I enjoy producing new ideas. But when you are doing the finalized process, you are not creating something new. You are just doing the same illustration that you did. Yeah,
I agree. That's also why I want to looking into more 3D. I was thinking maybe even for the characters, because there's different ways to make it look like it's like it's done by hand, 2D, but it's all on the computer, 3D. So inshallah, same for the architecture stuff though too. There might be a faster way to do it. And inshallah, maybe I can give some tips, some ideas, because you're right. The creative part is the exciting part, but actually meticulously making everything perfect, it's a long time, and it's boring. Okay. So what's your so your business right now? So still right now you're outsourcing people to do the children's books, or is that that's over? Oh, still it's happening.
No, I doing that, and at the same time, I'm working on the book to publish it soon, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Okay, so what made you decide to do the Quran infographic? Because you said while you were working on the children's book, you got like you know, you wanted to do something more detailed. So what made you decide to? What was the inspiration to do the, you know, the first poster?
Yes, actually, one of my first goals to do arts was to, talk about Islam and Quran, and this was my all of my vision was that to, and also I was, to talk about it. I can say that when I was thinking of entertainment industry, I was thinking why should we as Muslims, we are using lots of entertainment programs and products, but most of them they don't have anything about Islam and our values. So this was my main concern. And at the same time, my opinion is that many things that we have in our religion, in Islam, are beautiful and entertaining, and why shouldn't we talk about them, and why shouldn't we do artworks that are containing them? And as Quran in this verse that Allah says that Uzkurullah zikran kasira wa sabbihuhu bukratan wa asila. So Allah wants us to do zikr in most of our lifetime. So when we are using some entertainment that it doesn't have anything that is going to to match us and to make some connection between us and Allah, it's going to be it's my opinion, it's going to be lagh, it's وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. So I wanted to create these artworks and to make it attached to Islam and promote Islamic values. And at the same time, my opinion is that entertainment is not going to have contradiction with Islamic values. We should promote our values and not be afraid of that. And that was my main inspiration. And as I mentioned I did some 3 or 4 comic books. But if I wanted to continue the comics, it would take me a lot of time. And maybe after 10 years, I would make a comic book. So I was thinking to find out a way and to do detailed artworks. And at the same time, I wanted to make it some kind of infographics. When you are looking at something like these infographics and, it's like an encyclopedia. You can open the book and just read, for example, just read here. Okay. So after that, you don't need to, read all of the book, for the audience. Sometimes most of the people are not interested to read all of the stories, all of the books. But when, this is designed for Muslims and non-Muslims, they come at here, this is pages about hijab and modesty. They just read the titles and they look at the images. So, at a limited time, they will get an understanding of what is those verses of Quran about, and it's not consuming their time. And if they are interested, they will do their research. I'm not claiming that this book is going to, this is going to be a virtual translation, because this is not right to say that we are going to translate the Quran. And because, as you know about Arabic, the words, you can't say, the exact translation of each word. And, this is in Arabic, yes, in Arabic, each word has a meaning. You have to think about the terminology, and it's hard. But here, I claim that I will give you a taste of Quran. You will come through this, you will read some verses, and if someone is interested, you should do some research to do more. And some verses, they have different meanings, they different opinions about the scholars. But But here in this book, I didn't go through the verses of Quran that are going to make some disagreement from the scholars. I used
Yeah.
the ayatul muhkamat, the verses that are clear to most of the people to understand. So if you are attached to any madhab or school of thoughts, you can use this book and you will not face any contradiction. Also for example, for this part, the Hajj poster here, you see the Hajj process, but as in different madhabs, we have different, kind of process in Hajj, different manasik. But here I did, a guideline for the manasik of Hajj that can be used for all the madhabs of Islam. There are not details that are going to make contradiction. So you can use this and at the same time follow your mazhab or fiqh and don't have any contradiction with this. And almost all of the verses in these books are not going to make those contradiction. They are clear and they can be used. And also I used, different, artist styles. Here you see I used Aboriginal artist style, I used stained glass style. And in our future book that is going to publish in this week or next week, I used Japanese paintings. At first I was doing all of them in isometric style because it was, close to what I had in my architecture background. But, it was, I guess it was 2017 that in Christmas I was thinking to do an artwork for Christmas and about the verses of Quran about Mary and Jesus and promote it to Christians and Muslims about doing an interfaith product. And after this poster I got lots of positive feedbacks from Muslims, non-Muslims, and that was my inspiration to not do my book only in isometric style. I did use many different artist styles, and also I used, for example, Inca and Mayan artist style. I used Japanese painting, and Alhamdulillah, the book is ready, and inshallah it will come back.
How many pages is it?
What?
How many pages is the book?
Yes, it's about 40 pages. But, to be honest, 30 pages are pictures and my infographics, and about 10 pages are introduction. And also I have some, notes at the end of the book that I mentioned all the translation resources that I use for it because I didn't translate anything. The text inside this book is all Quran, the Arabic verse of Quran and the translation. I used 2 or 3 translations that were the best, and I didn't, I just one page in this book. I wrote down only one page. I just used the Arabic, the translation, and I matched these parts together and made these infographics.
Inshallah. Will it be available internationally or?
It's, I can't announce the international shipping in one day, I have some limitations, but, if it comes out, currently it's available in UAE, but when it comes for pre-orders, but when it comes out, I can do some countries, for Middle East, I can do it, do the shipping for Canada, UK, France, Malaysia, Indonesia. I will list the countries, but some countries I can't do the shipping because, in our post offices, there are some sanctions for the Iranian people and Iranian post offices, and these sanctions make it hard for us. And we have our local post office should send these books to UAE, to Emirate, and then at a third country they will post it again to other countries. And the reason I can't announce the shipping to US for now, just for the next month, is that it's getting too expensive to send it to US. But at the same time, I'm sending this book to some stockists and distributors, and after you know, after they reach these books, I will announce the international shipping, you know, because of this, you know, at the same time, there's sanctions, and these sanctions is making the post expensive. And at the same time, the corona issue is going to make delay on these shippings. So as soon as these books are going to reach the distributor, we have one distributor in Australia, we have one stockist in Singapore, and after I send this and they will reach these books, I will announce the international shipping, and I will get, you know, receive the orders, and then I will contact the stockist to send the book to America, to United States, inshallah. And you know, I'm going to just slowly, I'm going to try to add more countries, and inshallah it will go well.
Inshallah, looking forward to receiving your book.
Yes, inshallah.
So the name Salam Comic, since you guys don't do comics anymore,
Yeah,
are you stick with the name, or are you gonna change the name?
this is a big challenge, you know, because at first I started with just short comics. I started with 3, 5 or 6 page comics, but you know, things changed, and my name, because I had the Facebook account, the Instagram account, I didn't change it, and this is my main concern. But you know, in United States, when we say comics, you know, they think superheroes, and you know, there is a tradition of comics, and there are classic comics. But
Yeah.
for outside the US, or when we say comics, you know, maybe you can define it for some picture books, and that will make it better to. But at the same time, when you see the books, you know, here at the first page, you know, you see that I have different, you know, scenes, but I didn't divide these scenes. They are connected with some kind of you know, architecture. So you know, it has comics inside, but you know, it's not the tradition or classic comic of United States, and that's why, you know, I didn't change the name. But maybe also here, as you see in the Mari, in the Quran, you know, you see, you know, here there are speech bubbles, but in a different way. You know, I can say this is a comic in a different way. Yes, yeah, I'm trying to define it, and so for now I'm not going to change, because many people know me by this Salam Comics, and I didn't have any personal page in Instagram. So for now, I guess that this is not going to make any problem. But inshallah, if I had any problem, I would change it. But for now, I still like Salam Comics. And also I love the name, because, you know, Salam, it means peace, and you know, it's the most ancient greeting in the world. You know, in Jewish people, they say Shalom. And also in the ancient scriptures of Christians, you know, we have something that is close to the meaning of Salam, you know, in their ancient description. So we can say Salam is a general word that you can talk when you are talking about peace or interfaith dialogue. You can say Salam, and that's why we choose Salam. And yes, inshallah, it will work.
So I was wondering if you had any sponsors, but I'm assuming you don't, right?
No. It's a personal business, you know. But you know, you say that government, but I guess for an artist should work independently. You know, this is a very important issue, because when you are working for a government or you are working for an institute, you should be, you know, you should follow their rules and their values. So this is a main concern, you know. When we see in the Islamic world, I can see this very obvious that, you know, some scholars are getting money from the governments. So when, you know, when the government that is sponsored, you know, they criticize any government in the world, but the government that is sponsoring them, when that government is doing something right, they say nothing. So as an artist, if I want to do follow a government or follow any company, I should be follow the rules. So this is poison for an artist to not be independent. And when the company is getting bigger, or when you are working for a bigger institution, these rules are going to make more concern, because if you don't follow them, they will kick you out, and this is going to challenge you.
Yeah, it's true. So I was wondering, what are your most popular posters?
Actually, the most popular poster in my book, I guess, one is the Mahdi in the Quran, and popular for this Mahdi in the Quran was the most popular, but we have another poster that is not published yet. It is about verses of Quran about Musa or Moses in the Quran. This poster also is going to be popular, and it was interesting for me because working on this project, because I did lots of research about ancient Egypt to find out which pharaoh was at the time of Moses. So I find the illustration, and I picked different illustrations of the ancient Egypt, and then I put it in one poster, and then I designed my poster on them. I changed some details. So it was a scientific process. It was very interesting for me, and also many details. And also the poster that I did for Paradise and Hell in the Quran, I used the Inca art or Mayan art, and that was the most challenging poster. And maybe some people will criticize it, but this is just, the poster is symbolic, and that was the most hard poster in all these posters.
Okay. Do you have any advice for Muslim artists? Maybe Muslim artists that want to do posters or comics or just art in general?
Yes, my advice is that you have to use just some simple rules. We have some limitations in our religion. We should stay and follow the rules, but at the same time we shouldn't limit ourselves in any story or any we can have lots of creativity if we believe ourselves. And for example, in your book, you used a robot, some kind of creature that was presenting the test. That's creativity is something like this. If you think that you have no limitation, you can go forward and do anything you want. But I see that many artists in the Muslim world, there are some conservative, they want to match to the ancient art styles, but they should do innovation. Even when they are traditional artists, they can do innovation, and these innovations are going to make the product live and interesting.
Okay.
Yes, I guess these live Instagrams are only 1 hour. I guess we have only 20 minutes. Yes.
Okay. I mean, that was my last question. I did want to talk about one thing that came up earlier.
Sorry, just a moment. This is going to on, and I will try another live. Okay.